any help, they pay something and they collect something for credit.
You get business where you do before?
Yes.
What do you do?
And they say, oh yeah, I do, oh yeah. I see condition come, I don't get money again.
With more than 600 deaths and over 1 million people displaced by the flood in 2022, it is time for the Nigerian authorities to come to terms with the reality that climate change and haphazard town planning, among others, have fully endangered many parts of the country and will continue unless sustainable measures are taken. Isa Mohammed, who is a victim of the 2022 flood, narrates his ordeal in Kogi State.
When the flood just came, actually it's as if we are the first person that the flood just affected. I'm among the minority. Since government does not tell us where they will camp us the first time, I tried to go and rent a house. That's where we found it. That very night, where last. God be the glory. My first daughter and my second son, they did not stay with us. It's only my wife and my loved one and two of my older sisters.
There must be concerted efforts by all stakeholders towards preventing future devastations by flood, which have been ravaging many other states across the country. Flood waters have overwhelmed numerous communities along the banks of the river Niger and Benue, as well as Lokoja, the capital city of Kogi, and other local government areas of the state. Abia, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, Gombe, Imo, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Kebbi, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Oyo, Rivers, Sokoto, Taraba, and Zamfara. Recently, in Katsina State, the failure of proper housing policy in Nigeria, leaving people build on waterways as well as low plains that are susceptible to flooding. Lack of places for evacuation of people affected, closing down schools, using their facilities as IDP camps. All these have long-term and short-term effects on the society at large. Therefore, every stakeholder is culpable. Aisha Ibrahim said her source of livelihood has been halted due to the flood.
The flood have affected me well because since when this flood affected me, my business terminates. I haven't done any business. It's only God, through God I'm feeding now.
The worsening humanitarian crisis in the affected state calls for urgent action and collaboration by all stakeholders. Youth leader Muhammad Gimba calls for concerted efforts to curb these recurring issues and how they can go back to their communities, as no access to toilets nor basic hygiene is being provided at the IDP camp.
Male and female, we are more than 250. But as you can see now, even without being told, we know that people are here. The real situation is that we need NGOs and government to assist us, that we still need more of their assistance. We want them to help us in terms of feeding and other things, unlike shelter, like mosquito house, other things, how to go back to our this thing if after this flood.
The country's problem is poor town planning, juxtaposed with Nigeria's rapidly expanding population. Another factor is government's poor response. Every year, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency (NIMET) and the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency (NISA) issues warnings on floods, as they did this year. But nothing concrete is done to prevent the subsequent tragedies.
2012. We felt it was the end. Between 2012 and today is 10 good years for any rational government to have taken a step in alleviating the suffering of their people. Now, like I was saying off camera, behind me directly here is a CSP house who put in 35 years. The building down there is an army captain. The other one, the first man spoke to you, retired as a sergeant from Nigerian Army, and he fought the civil war that Nigerian may exist. But today, the old man was weeping. Why was he weeping? Because if that building collapsed, he has nowhere else to go. So if we want to look at this thing holistically, I'm of the opinion that it should take 3 dimensions. The immediate, what do we do to alleviate our suffering? Thank God some of us can still feed ourselves. Like 3 of my buildings are immersed in water. But thank God we are alive. So the government should do something, and the immediate cause is let them look for a virgin land. There are upland along Ajaokuta Road, the other side, and allocate, if it is just 50 by 100, take our identity so that if this thing happens maybe in another 10 years, we wouldn't be here. If you give most of us land to build, even if you are not giving us the money to build it, it will go a long way.
Therefore, beyond the need to sensitize people, especially those living in floodplains, on the danger and ramification of flood, including food shortage, government at all levels must provide concrete measures for the affected people.
I am not in the primary school, but virtually everybody here is in the primary school. This is the 3rd week now. Nobody has come to say, how are you? To even bring ordinary mosquito net here. The worst they will do now, they will bring Indomie, they will bring it at a time where the youths from Adankulu and others will come and fight, and the original people here will not get it. When an old man like that one, all of them that you will see in that camp, do you think those people will go and struggle and begin to box with youths who come from other areas? No. I don't know how they get information, but they want to share something here, and if you are here, you will be amazed. People from Kabawa, all of them will come and fight, and it is survival of the fittest, but the water has not engulfed their houses. They have taken our names down, they have done everything. There should be modernity. This is a government that should be sensitive to the program of the problems of the people.
How can we avert such reoccurring going forward? The need is to build a dam to hold the excess water should there be a release from another country, and have futuristic plans and technical know-how of government agents, with Minister of Water Resources Sulaiman Adamu saying God is responsible for floods that have submerged various parts of the country, plunging communities into incomparable devastation, as if we are practicing theocracy needs to stop.
Now, the midterm course is, what do we do to River Niger? Here we are, it's almost a 1.5–2 kilometers from River Niger. River vomits this water to Meme that supplies, and Meme vomit to everybody here. Assuming we are built by the riverside, then we will be at fault. But we have not built by the size. 500 meters to the river is what the law says. But today we are living almost 1.5 kilometers from the river, but the water is affecting us. So the government should think of either redredging what Niwa wanted to do about 8–10 years ago when Boss Mustafa was still here. Let them dredge the River Niger and put a backment, especially within the Lokoja environment. This is a capital state. A state capital should not be immersed in this type of thing every year round.
Humanitarian agencies fear the floods will contribute to a health disaster, and Nigeria has already seen a rise in cholera infections as flood ravaged many parts of the country. Aliu Adoka of St. Luke's Primary School, Lokoja, said 390 flood victims are camping in the school that has no health center nor ambulance available in case of emergency.
Actually, we don't have any doctor stations. But immediately I came here, I requested for a classroom, which we use as an office. In case we have medical teams that come, we arrange tables and they use our office.
Yeah, they come. Has there been any medical team that has come here?
Yes, from Ministry of Health. They came here twice.
Okay, so you don't have any standby clinic where you can?
No, we don't have. But when we have emergency, we just run to them.
The condition is worrisome as the refugees do not have access to potable drinking water and toilet facilities.
Nothing like toilet in the camp. The women, we sympathize with them even more than we, the men. Because I'm a man. If I feel toilet, I can run down to the hill. But then, there is no place to hide. Despite with that, they try to go very close to this river, to the flood area, still to go and do their toilet.
According to UNICEF, the 2022 flood has exposed more than 2.5 million people in Nigeria to the need of humanitarian assistance, 60% of which are children and are at the risk of waterborne diseases, drowning and malnutrition due to the most severe flooding in the past decade. The community head of Sarkin Noma in Kogi State, Bala Musa, said he has been sick. They are exposed to all forms of diseases at the camp.
Not even people affected here. You know, the water comes with some odor, smells, and some other things. Even myself, that I'm standing before you, I think I took 4 drips of water. Due to this changing of environment. So we face so many challenges in terms of our health.
Elsewhere in Kogi State, one of the worst hit states of which the coastal waters flows into the River Niger, Africa's third longest river and by far the most important in West Africa, and the Benue River, are no strangers to such problems. A decade ago, the worst flooding in more than 40 years in Nigerian history claimed 431 lives and forced nearly 2 million people to leave their homes. 2022's devastation has seen even more deaths. The chairperson, Kogi Network of NGOs, Ambassador Idris, said rapid impact assessment of the flood shows that flood victims who are now IDPs in Kogi State and the state capital like Lokoja, Adankolo, Sarkin Noma and Gadumo do not have basic hygiene and wash facilities.
When we carried out the assessment across, we discovered the various camps we visited doesn't have source of water. Most of them doesn't have a source of light. There's no enough hygiene materials, especially toilets were not readily available. In fact, most of them we discovered were littering the compound. Most of them are actually housed in primary schools and secondary schools across. They were littering the whole place with passing physics and not well coordinated. In fact, one of the biggest one is just the recent one, which we assess a community, this Gadumo primary school, where some IDP were, and discovered that they've not been receiving enough support because they seem to be at the extreme end of the town.
The unprecedented damage has been attributed to numerous factors. These include poor drainage systems in many residential areas, with the channel often clogged with waste, indiscriminate construction on natural floodplains, and water paths exacerbate the problem. A leader of an IDP in Lokoja, Muhammad Sani Gambo, said this flood is the worst ever. It submerged his house.
This flood of 2022 is the worst flood we has ever had in this our generation. The flood came to submerge all my houses, my properties, my animals, all has been taken away by the flood. The most unfortunate thing, the NEMA, the SEMA, we have been hearing stories, we have never seen anything.
It was so disastrous to the extent all this building you are seeing now were not seen before. My own is this white building here. It was only the zinc that was left out. All this story building you are seeing over there, this first floor is completely swallowed. All this fence you are seeing now, all here was swallowed by the flood. People could not even come into their house. It was boats that everyone is using. It was the flood that fell this fence. When this fence fell, I was standing here with the boat to go out. We now hear it fell down on top of the boat and scattered the boat. That is why I could no longer use boat anymore. I now packed from there to the primary school there with my family so that we can use that place. It was so disastrous.
We are appealing all the well-meaning Nigerians, we that have not been seen receiving anything yet, they should come to our aid to assist us. We would be glad to any organization or any corporate body who can come of help, that can come of assistance to us. We will be very, very, very grateful to them.
The 2022 rain has been unprecedented and well above the flood situation in 2012. The failure of Nigeria to complete the receptor dam at the Mambila Plateau that ought to check flooding downstream the river Benue is also partly responsible for the massive flood waters that ravaged Lokoja, Anambra and Bayelsa states. The solution is to build dams where necessary to check the flood waters. Following the disaster in 2013, there was reportedly an agreement between Cameroon and Nigeria, which required Cameroon to give early warning notice to enable Nigeria put in place proactive measures to prevent destruction of lives and properties.
I feel very sad because 2012, this flood came like that. Cover all my entire house. The money they pay me when I retire is what I take to build this house. Now I have nothing again. But this year again, the same thing. Even cover. I don't know whether the house will fall or anything will happen.
If there is such an agreement, it is obvious that it is not obeyed. But Nigeria ought to take proactive measures whether or not there is a warning from Cameroon. With climate change expected to lead to even more rainfall in Nigeria, residents will be hoping that the authorities finally take action to protect them from the annual floods.